There's more talk on a Jack Eichel trade to the New York Rangers. Is there more to this? And could we actually see a blockbuster, maybe even a three-team deal with Mika Zibanejad involved on the Rangers side? We'll discuss that possibility and some mock trades coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. Now, of course, we're going to talk about Jack Eichel here again. I know some of you are probably thinking, oh, I'm tired of talking about Jack Eichel. And you know what? To a degree, I am too, and I would like just to see this all be over and done with and have an Eichel trade completed so everybody can move on here and we can talk about something different. But until that happens, it's the hot topic around the league. It's going to be a blockbuster deal. When it finally goes down, we know that much for certain. So there's more news here in regards to the Rangers. And it keeps coming back to the Big Apple and the New York Rangers situation. Of course, just not long ago, a couple days ago, we had Steve Valiquette on Twitter saying that his spidey senses said that something was up and a Ranger deal was going down soon. Of course, it hasn't yet. But then today, athletic writer for Athletic New York, Rick Carpinello, he puts out on Twitter that before he heads out for some vacation time, he just wants to put this out here saying that if an Eichel trade happens to the New York Rangers, to not be surprised if Mika Zibanejad's involved. Now, that's a bombshell. I mean, he's just going to just put that out there and take off on vacation, get everybody all riled up, everybody talking. And, you know, it's certainly a big deal. Now, here is the thing. I know many of you are probably saying, but wait, Mika Zibanejad has a no-move clause. So that ain't going to happen. Yeah, you know what? Maybe it won't. But here's the thing. The New York Rangers, in the next 1 to 2 years, they have a lot of big contracts that are going to be coming due here for their young players. They're going to have to pay a fortune to Adam Fox. You've got Capo Caco and Alexis Lafreniere are going to be graduating to their next contracts. If guys like Vitaly Kravtsov sticks around and he's not moved in a package, he's going to, you get a lot of young players that are going to be getting big raises. And, we saw the Shesterkin contract come today. That ate into their cap space too. It's a team that's going to grow, and it's going to be awfully difficult to keep Zibanejad beyond the 1 year that's left on his contract. He's played phenomenal for them, been a terrific top center, and he is going to get paid handsomely, whether it be from the Rangers or somewhere else. But there's a real chance on the open market, based on what we've seen this offseason, he's going to be a $9 to $10 million player. Now, can they afford another player of that magnitude? The answer is, I don't think so. I mean, we've got a guy like Panarin making big bucks. You got Trouba making big bucks. Shesterkin's going to likely get another raise in his next deal. Like I said, Adam Fox is right now one of the top defensemen in the league. And when his deal is going to be a monster deal. And then if they do trade for Eichel, it does seem conceivable here that there's just no way that they'd be able to hang on to Mika Zibanejad. It's just the way the cookie crumbles when it comes to the financial side of things. Either Zibanejad or Ryan Strome would have to go out in an Eichel trade. Now, it doesn't have to go directly to the Sabres. That's the other thing here. You got to remember, is Mika Zibanejad going to want to move or waive his no move to go to the Sabres? It's highly doubtful. He's been treated like a king in New York. The stuff that they have and their practice facilities and how they treat their players. And I'm not saying Sabres don't treat their players well, but he's kind of spoiled living in, he's had a great time and a great performer. Sounds like he really loves it there. He's not going to want to go from being in the Ranger team that's on the upswing with everything that they have at their fingertips to going to the slowly Sabres that are rebuilding. It's not going to happen. But if the Rangers approach him and talk to him and handle this properly and say, listen, Mika, we love you. You've been a great player, but we just can't afford to keep you. So we're not going to be re-signing you after your contract expires. So we have to trade you beforehand. So they kind of work out a deal and get him to work with them on where he could go, that maybe he'd sign an extension to help them get a good return. And there's enough teams out there that have been in the Eichel sweepstakes that can maybe team up with the Rangers and the Sabres to make a 3-team trade. That would make way more sense, and to me it's the only logical way that Zibanejad would cooperate, play ball, and consider waiving his no-move clause, is if he gets a mega extension on a long-term deal with another team that he'd be happy to go to. So we've talked about teams like the Vegas Golden Knights. We've talked about teams like the Minnesota Wild, the Anaheim Ducks. Even Ottawa a little bit. Haven't really been in the Eichel conversation, but they've been in the trade conversation around getting a center. The Calgary Flames have been in that mix. There's lots of teams out there that are wanting to upgrade the center position. But the Eichel sweepstakes are, not for all of them. So for a lot of them, it's a little too rich for their blood. So therefore, maybe getting a Zibanejad trade would make more sense. Now, so what I've done here, I've worked out some, what I'm going to call some mock trades, 3-team deals between the Buffalo Sabres, the New York Rangers, and a few other teams to make it a 3-team deal so that Zibanejad could be traded to a team that I think he would at least consider waiving for and see what the return could be going to the Rangers and, of course, to Buffalo for Eichel. So essentially what the Rangers can do here, if they're not going to be able to afford Mika Zibanejad beyond one more year, especially if they pull off an Eichel trade, then they can use that to make a trade to bring in more assets that they can then flip to the Buffalo Sabres along with a few of their current assets to land Jack Eichel. So essentially, they're using the leverage of Zibanejad to get Eichel without giving up nearly as much off their roster. And you'll see what I mean here momentarily. So that's the only way this scenario would have any chance to play out. So for all of you out there sitting saying there's no way this is ever going to happen, you know what? I do realize that you got to remember here, we're just talking about what's being reported out there. This is not my idea. I'm not suggesting that they have to trade Zibanejad or that he's going to be traded for Eichel. If they don't trade for Eichel, I think there's a chance they could keep Zibanejad, but they would have to cut salary in other ways to make it happen because of the amount of money he's going to be able to command on his contract along with other guys. It's going to have to be a situation where somebody that needs a new deal there that's going to get a substantial raise is going to have to go because it's just not going to work mathematically without leaving the rest of the roster too thin. So let's now take a look at my mock trades. And I'm going to ask you too, because I've seen some comments saying, oh, that's never going to happen. You're just an idiot or you don't know what you're talking about. That guy's going nowhere. I see that comment all the time. So just look at the mock trades that I'm going to propose here. And if you don't think they're going to work out, just say so and give me your opinion and let me know what you think is a better mock trade, and we can actually have a conversation. That's what we do here, is we have conversations around what's going on in the hockey world. I say what I think. I want to know what you think. We talk in the comment section. We go back and forth, create a community, and it goes from there. So and it seems like every Eichel video especially, there's always the whole hamburgers here that like to leave the mean comments and say that nobody knows what they're talking about and all that stuff. So just leave those comments to yourself because I'm not really all that interested in seeing them here anymore. Not that they really bother me. I really don't care. It's just I'm sure it's frustrating for the other viewers trying to have conversations and leave comments and then have to deal with that too because that's not the kind of community that we really want to create here. We want to have a open community where everybody can feel comfortable sharing their thoughts without being told they're stupid or anything like that. That's not what we want. So mock trade number 1 is we have the New York Rangers, the Buffalo Sabres, and the Vegas Golden Knights hooking up on a deal here. So this is how I would see it possibly going down. So essentially, Mika Zibanejad is traded from the Rangers to the Vegas Golden Knights. In return, they get Riley Smith, and they also get Nicholas Hag and Vegas's first-round pick. So those are the 3 assets I see going to the Rangers. Now, the Rangers are going to keep Riley Smith, but the other 2 assets are going to be included in the flip to Buffalo to land Eichel. So then going from Buffalo to the Rangers is Jack Eichel, and then the Sabres would get a package that would be concluded here between what they got from Vegas and the Rangers, which would be Georgiev, so they get themselves a goaltender. They get young defenseman Zach Jones. They get another solid defenseman in Nicholas Hag, who came over from Vegas. They get Vitaly Krastov, and then you can throw in either 1 or 2 first-round picks. So you're going to get a first-round pick in there as well. So, and really, if they really want to make sure this deal happens, they take the first-round pick from Vegas and the Rangers one, but I don't think they necessarily have to do that. I think we can have a situation here where the Rangers only include 1 first-round pick, not 2. But they would have their pick of which one they put in. They could either pick their own or Vegas's, and that's how they go. So in that scenario, the Sabres would essentially get 5 assets. So that's mock trade number 1. I think that to me, that works. I know, like I said, if Riley Smith leaves Vegas, I think Gerard Gallant would be pushing hard to get him in the Rangers organization. That's why I think if they did do that, that they would try to keep Riley Smith. Now, this also would be difficult from a cap perspective, so the Rangers may have to make a subsequent move if they're going to keep Smith, maybe move out another piece somewhere else. But the other thing with Smith, too, is he's only got 1 year left on his deal. Maybe he just stays for the 1 year and they don't re-sign him or something like that. And, of course, part of this as well would be, I would think that Zibanejad would want to work out an extension to stay in Vegas. Now, before we go on to the next mock trades, I do need to pause here for a moment and acknowledge our channel sponsor, Manscaped. Top Shelf Hockey is proud to be sponsored by Manscaped. Of course, with Manscaped, we have a special offer here for all Top Shelf Hockey viewers where you can get 20% off and free shipping into all orders at manscaped.com. Now, of course, Manscaped just launched a brand new Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, which is a fantastic product. They've taken the level up here. Even again with the skin-safe replaceable blades, it's waterproof, it's wireless charging, has a travel lock on it, as well as a nice light so you don't miss what you're doing. So certainly a terrific product. Now, many people associate Manscaped with their trimmers, which is certainly kind of their top product, but they do have a lot of other great options as well, including what they call the Weed Whacker, which is another trimmer for your ears and nose. And they have a variety of deodorants and sprays as well, which also keep you fresh and are terrific as well. So certainly Manscaped has a lot to offer, and we certainly highly recommend all of their products. So check out manscaped.com and use promo code TSH for 20% off and free shipping. Thanks very much for watching that promotional video. Let's jump back in here to these mock trades. Now, mock trade number 2 is we have the Minnesota Wild, the Rangers, and the Sabres hooking up here. So we have Mika Zibanejad going to Minnesota. Now, I honestly think and wonder that it might be less likely that Zibanejad waived to go to the Wild, but you never know. I'm not sure how he'd feel about it, but they are an up-and-coming team, so, and the fact that they've been in on the Eichel sweepstakes, I think that he'd consider that. So Zibanejad goes to Minnesota, overcomes Kevin Fiala and a first-round pick is what the Rangers would get in that trade. I mean, Fiala's a player that is a young, dynamic player and a first-rounder, so, I mean, that's a decent return. Then they would then flip that to Buffalo for Eichel, plus they would also include their own first-round pick, young defenseman Zach Jones, and goaltender Alexander Georgiev. So the Sabres in that scenario get 2 first-round picks. They get themselves a goaltender who can help right now, and 2 young players who can also jump into the lineup and help immediately in Fiala and Jones. So to me, that's a pretty good haul for the Buffalo Sabres too. They get a combination of players that can help now and things that can help down the road. Now, like I said, I don't know how Zibanejad would feel, but I think it's a possibility. Now, looking at mock trade number 3 involves the Senators, the Rangers, and the Sabres. So we have, obviously, Zibanejad going to Ottawa, of course, is where he started his career. I wonder how he'd feel about that. I mean, again, a young, up-and-coming team, a team that he's familiar with, a city he's familiar with. So I went on the assumption he would waive. Maybe he wouldn't. We'll only ever find out if it ever becomes a real possibility here. And then we have a package going to the New York Rangers for Zibanejad, which would include guys like Erik Brannstrom, Logan Brown, and a first-round pick. So all of that would be flipped. And, of course, with Zibanejad, too, is Braden Schneider. So you get a young prospect defenseman and Mika Zibanejad going to Ottawa in exchange for Logan Brown, Erik Brannstrom, a first-round pick, and Colin White. Now, Colin White stays with the Rangers, so the Rangers get Eichel and White in this deal. The Senators get Zibanejad and Schneider in this deal. And the Sabres get Georgiev again, Zach Jones, Vitaly Kravtsov, and the 3 pieces from Ottawa that the Rangers moved on. So Brannstrom, Logan Brown, and a first-round selection. So they get 6 assets here instead of the 4 to 5 that has been rumored. But I only went that way given the fact that, like Logan Brown, for example, is a little bit of a little bit more of an older prospect that's not quite matured yet. They might not value him as high. They probably would take him as a project, but not something that they're going to be super high on. So to me, that's a pretty good deal too, but I don't know how that would work out. That's just, again, a mock trade that I would think all teams would at least consider. Looking at next, we get the Anaheim Ducks. Now, the Ducks in this case would get Zibanejad. They'd be sending a combination of Max Jones, Rickard Rakell, and a first-round pick to the Rangers for Mika. And then, of course, the Rangers would then take all three of those assets and add Zach Jones and Georgiev to the package to go to the Sabres to land Jack Eichel. So the Sabres, in this case, get 5 assets. I only think because they'd probably value Rakell and Jones maybe a little bit higher than like Logan Brown or Eric Brandstrom. So that's why I own 5 assets here instead of 6. But there could be, if it's not enough, depending on the value of these players, maybe they throw in one more something or other from either the Rangers or the Ducks. But again, a situation where Anaheim's been wanting a top center. They get Zibanejad instead of Eichel, and they don't have to give up Drysdale. They don't have to give up Zegras, and they get to stay here. Same thing with Minnesota. They don't have to give up their top prospects in these deals either. Now, lastly here, I wondered about the Kraken. Now, I wonder what Mika would feel about waving to go to Seattle. Brand new team, great organization, deep pockets, good foundation being built, great new arena. You have to wonder here what his thoughts would be on that. So here's what I have. I have Mika Zibanejad going to Seattle and agreeing to an extension. Of course, going to the Rangers for Zibanejad would include the Kraken first-round pick in one of the next 2 drafts, Vince Dunn and Mason Appleton. So they get a 25-year-old forward in Appleton who's a speedster, can play special teams, can pitch in, really starting to come into his own. A little bit of a later bloomer, but you know what? He's a good little player that can really be an impact guy. And Vince Dunn just signed a good contract, a dynamic defenseman. Then they flip all of that along with Georgiev and Jones for Eichel. I mean, that might, to be honest, I wonder if this would get it done. I do think that they might have to throw in something else here. Maybe you throw in another, maybe the Rangers first-round pick as well, something to sweeten that deal a little bit more. But I do think that Zibanejad might actually consider the Kraken on this trade. So those are my mock trades for 5 different scenarios that I think could possibly open up here with teams. Now, there's other teams too, like I said. They're not the only ones. I mean, we've seen teams like Montreal, Calgary, to a degree Boston, all been somewhat rumored to be interested in Eichel, and they might go for this type of trade instead where they don't have to give up quite as much, but then get Zibanejad instead. So, it's a scenario that could possibly unfold. But with all the news on Twitter in the last couple of days with the Rangers, it does seem like there's more people in the know that seem to think that this is going to happen, but we'll have to wait and find out as always. So let me know what your thoughts are on an Eichel trade. Do you think the Rangers are going to be able to pull this off? And let me know what your mock trades are and what you think happening here on a Jack Eichel possible 3-way deal involving Zibanejad leaving New York as part of this process. And we'll discuss further down in the comments. If you're new to this channel, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We will keep you up to date with all of this news, rumors, and analysis on all 32 NHL teams. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you next time.